What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new super evolution that just debuted in this latest Kizuna Clash, being the Rumble Kizaru. And I think that the fact that they are giving these Rumble units actually decent 6+s is kind of nice. Now look, you know, Kuma obviously didn't really get much of a buff in terms of his normal content, but you know, we're looking at Kuma, his Rumble stuff is amazing. And they did a pretty good job here as well with Kizaru, but the thing about Kizaru is that he's actually still had pretty decent abilities in normal content, really good special bind removal, which we'll talk about in a moment, but then they've also added some additional gimmicks, which we'll talk about. But I also want to make a video for this guy in Rumble. Haven't really got around to formulating a good team with him just quite yet. But I do think in Rumble, he does have some pretty solid potential. But honestly, it is kind of tough because we do obviously have the other Kizaru that debuted during the 11th anniversary. And I mean, I might make a separate video about this, but I do think that like this Kizaru, honestly, the 11th Kizaru that came out earlier this year, he might be my favorite unit of the year. And you know, it's gonna be hard to kind of topple a unit such as that. You know, trying to fit him on the team is gonna be kind of tough. But either way, let's get to discussing what this Kizaru is all about. So Kizaru being a deck shooter free spirit, we all know about that. His captain ability, which I'm not really showcasing his captain ability in this video because there's just better units to be using as a captain, especially when these Rumble legends don't get super types or super classes, etc. So there's really no use in using him as a captain. But if you do opt to use him as a captain, you do still receive 2 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest, so you know, a little bit of a speed run is never a bad thing. He's also a 5 times attack boost to strength, dex, and quick. Of course, this is talking about his level limit break abilities. The 5 times captain with the 1.3 times HP. He also says that the turn you activate his special, he goes from a 5 times captain to a 5.4 times captain. So that's a little bit of a bonus damage there. And then also he says that if the crew uses a special to give you color affinity, he extends it by 2 turns, and he adds 0.25 to that buff as well. So with his special ability, eventually when you do get a chance to activate it, he ends up being a 2.75 times color affinity boost for 1 turn. So his captain ability, if you set him as a captain, it will actually be a 3 times color affinity for 2 turns. So that's actually quite a major difference with his special, but there's obviously other issues as to why using him as a captain isn't going to be ultimately viable. Additionally, in his captain effect, he also says that if you tap on him with a strength, dex, or quick slot, he gives minus 7% fighter shooter free spirit resistance for 1 turn. Nothing really that crazy. I wish, honestly, if this counted for any character on the team that tapped with strength, dex, and quick, this would actually be pretty freaking cool. Unfortunately, it is just only for himself. So, as we said, captain ability isn't that big of a deal. It's not the main reason why you use him. His special ability, when you account for level limit break 5, which my one is at level limit break 5, by the way, you get a pretty decent special. The first component in his stage 2 special is that he does give minus 1 turn of cooldown. A little bit of an issue because he doesn't actually, well, he actually does have an ability to resist special reverse by 10 turns. So his crewmate ability did get updated, which is a good thing. So he does have the ability to resist special reverse and special bind. So simultaneously doing that, I completely overlooked the fact that he actually had the special reverse crewmate ability, which is a good thing. So he gives the minus 1 turn of cooldown and remove 10 turns of special bind, which is just phenomenal. And then if the crew has a color affinity boost when you launch the special, you get a 3-turn 1250 base attack boost for strength, dex, and quick for 3 turns. And then it also says he extends the duration of your conditional boosts by 2 turns. This is really weird, considering there is nothing in Kizaru's kit that has anything to do with conditional boosts, but yet he has an ability that can extend conditional boosts by 2 turns. This does synergize relatively well with the most recent free-to-play Sentomaru that came out during the Grand Feast Sugo Fest, and also recently super evolved in the Kizuna Clash that has just come out. He does have a defense down conditional boost, so I guess technically that Sentomaru does have some kind of synergizing abilities with this Kizaru, but I think generally speaking, you're not really going to be using that Sentomaru all that much, so it's just kind of a strange ability that he has. And then obviously, you know, if he does all of the base attack and the extension of conditional boosts if you already have a color affinity boost, but if you don't have a color affinity boost, then that's where he applies his 2.75 times affinity for 1 turn for strength, dex, and quick. Makes sense. He also gives a 3-turn 1.6 chain addition. That's also a really nice buff that he has. And then he has an additional effect based on the amount of tag characters you have in your crew, specifically looking at Navy Admiral and Navy Vice Admiral. So I have a bit of an issue with this because he specifically needs Navy Admiral and Navy Vice Admiral. So the fact that he doesn't specifically count just Navy is a problem, because we have the 11th anniversary Kizaru, which just says Navy, which is just ultra specific, because look, if a character is a Navy Vice Admiral or a Navy Admiral, they're going to be part of Navy as well. So it's kind of just annoying that he specifically wants Admirals or Vice Admirals. If it was just Navy across the board, he would be way more easier to use. But if you fulfill having 3 of those units on your team, he removes pain duration by 5 turns, and also reduces his own cooldown by 5 turns. So this, in partnership with the 11th anniversary Kizaru special ability, which gives -6 turns of cooldown to the middle row, and then you also have the 11th anniversary or 10th anniversary Ace, which gives cooldown in his special and cooldown in his EX Super. Those combining together with Kizaru's ability to also give himself cooldown does actually allow him to launch double special, which is pretty cool actually. Of course, it is counting on the fact that you do have these very specific characters, but being able to launch the double special is pretty cool. Or you could use it in another scenario where you use his special earlier on in content, and then eventually you can get his special to launch again a little bit later on down the line. So either way, that can work out pretty well. So I like that he has that ability. Just ultimately it makes him way more usable in more content. He does more additional abilities now. Obviously, you know, integrating some of the tag mechanics, and I know a lot of people have issues with the tag mechanic. I myself do. I think that the way that they have implemented it is so weird. I mean, look, the tag mechanic came out in late April. It is now, what, towards nearly September, and we haven't had any additional characters receive tags in the game. That is mind-blowing to me. I don't know what they're doing. There are still a ton of characters in the game that do not have tags, and the fact that they haven't gone back and given us a new batch is crazy to me. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I just hope that we do get more soon, and honestly, just the way that they've been implementing them, making a lot of characters essentially not work properly if they don't have the right tags. Looking at you, Monkey D. Dragon, looking at the Sabo that came out for the most recent treasure map, making that whole event so annoying if you don't have the Koala and the Hack that came out alongside him. Very poor design. We obviously don't want to go down that route, but I do think the tags have a really cool... It's a really cool idea, and you can design some really sick characters with it, but the implementation of this idea is so bad. So we're just hoping for better implementation in the future, or more characters to receive their tags, obviously. So anyways, that's going to wrap it up for me. A little bit of a rant towards the end there, but let me know your thoughts and opinions about this 6+ Kizaru. I think he's a pretty decent 6+. Obviously nowhere near like V3 Rayleigh tier for a 6+, but I think it's a very good, very acceptable 6+. Definitely better than some of the other ones that we've had over the last couple of months, which have been very, very bland. So hopefully you enjoyed this video today, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Other than that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.
Yo!